conference. We start business this afternoon by welcoming our guest speaker, Munroe Bergdorf, LGBT plus activist, model, writer, and broadcaster. Munroe, she or they, is an international renowned activist, model, author, and broadcaster. In 2022, she joined British Vogue as a contributing editor. At United Nations Women Changemaker since 2019 and was then appointed at United Nations Women UK National Champion in 2023. Munroe also passionately served as an ambassador for the gender variant and transgender youth charity, Mermaid. On the broadcast front, she hosts the critical acclaimed Spotify podcast, The Way We Are, Front MTV, its show. Could be funny, yes, and celebrate the publication of a debut book, Transitional by Bloomsbury in February 2023, an influential voice as echo in estimated venue from Oxford University to the United Nations headquarters. Munroe's media career to date includes byline and editing roles such as LGBT plus editor and does beauty plus writing credit across British Vogue, Glamour's, Grazia, ID, Evening Standard, and Guardian. As a model, Munroe has collaborated with a range of brands like Tommy Hilfiger, Mansbury, Boss, and Stella McCartney. She is also on the runway of Fashion Month of the show like MAC Cosmetic Face Show during London Fashion Week, Avoleno at Paris Fashion Week, and Blonde in the New York Fashion Week. Munroe has covered a range of media titles, including British Vogue, Rolling Stone UK, Time, Teen Vogue, Anger, Stylish, Time Out London, Attitude Magazine, Glamour's, Gay Time, Q, GQ Style, and notably, she made history as the first trans cover star of the Cosmopolitan magazine commemorating their 50th anniversary. Hey, yeah, yes. Munroe, thank you so much for taking time to come to us, to talk to us. The floor is yours.
Sorry for such a long biography. We should have sent down the reduced version. But thank you so much for having me, everybody. Happy Pride Month. Coming back, yeah, woo! Coming back to Brighton always feels like a homecoming. It feels like my second hometown. I went to university here, so it's always really nice to come back to speak. And I hope that despite what feels like a very heavy socio-political backdrop, that you're managing to find joy in yourselves and hope in each other in this expansive and extended and evolving community that we share. I hope that aside from the incessantly bleak news cycle, we remember that if history's taught us anything, it's that there's always a brighter and better future to be found on the other side of dark times, and that it's because of what we survived and what we resisted and what we overcame that will make this month, Pride Month, all the more meaningful, galvanizing, and empowering for all people. Pride, at its heart, is a celebration, but it's also a vehicle for protest, an opportunity for communal and social reflection. Pride is by definition a political movement born out of a resistance to systemic queerphobic oppression. It is our shared voice in the pushback against shame. Pride is the culmination of everything that we've endured as a community, from the criminalization of homosexuality, to anti-cross-dressing laws, to the HIV and AIDS epidemic, to heavy-handed police raids on LGBT venues, to Section 28. This is what gives Pride its meaning, It is the remembering and the learning from history that gives Pride its purpose. It's in the recognition of those who didn't make it that emphasizes the importance of Pride being 365 days of the year, that the month of June is very much a community check-in, but the movement itself is not confined to a 30-day window. And whilst history serves as a powerful indicator of how far we've come, it's also a sobering reminder of how history can often repeat itself, especially when we look at the relentless wave of British transphobia echoing from much of the same bigoted rhetoric spewed by politicians and the media of 1980s Britain underneath Margaret Thatcher's time in Downing Street. But it sadly doesn't stop there. As far as we've come, as much as we've gained in the way of public acceptance and legal protections, we are now facing a highly organized, highly funded, concerted and sustained effort to drag us backwards in time, to undo much of the progress that our elders fought and won, to invalidate much of the work that we continue to do today, to restrict or revoke queer youth access to Pride, to thrust us back into the shadows of shame. Whether that be the surge in anti-LGBT bills across the Atlantic, or the pinkwashing of war and the subsequent erasure of queer voices from occupied territories and war zones, or the winding back of parental rights for lesbian mothers in Italy, or the criminalization of homosexuality in Ghana, or at home, the rise in transphobic hate crimes and the surging levels of suicide ideation and self-harm amongst trans youth. The fight is far from over. We need to remember that transphobia is a problem for everyone. Within a society where the public policing and dictation of gender identity or expression is encouraged by the media and government and influential institutions, it's not only transgender people who are rendered unsafe, it's also anyone and everyone who is suspected of being trans due to their femininity or masculinity not falling in line with such prescribed binary expectations of gender. Let us not forget that homosexuality is still very much illegal in 65 countries across the world, many due to the legacy of Western colonial rule. But what happens over there doesn't just happen over there. There isn't really an over there to begin with. What happens on this planet that we share is shared by and felt by us all. We are not done. The rights that we have are not cast in iron or set in stone. They are fragile, relatively new, and must be continued to be protected and fought for to maintain and progress. I was 19 when I went to my first Pride event. I just moved to Brighton for university, and up until that point, I'd only really experienced queer community in clubs and bars. Pride was a tool for my personal liberation and empowerment with regards to my sexual and gender identity and expression. But with each year that passed, as I became more and more myself, I began to realize that the key to Pride, the key that unlocks the power of Pride, isn't in the centering of the singular, the me. It's in the we. It's in what we need and what we want. It's in the collective. And that we extends across oceans, it defies borders, it transcends languages and cultures. It is a shared universal consciousness, emphasizing the truth that none of us are free until we are all free. Queer people exist everywhere, in all countries, in all communities, in all places. That includes those living in lands ravaged by war and genocide, those living under dictatorship rule in occupied territories, and the 62 countries where it's illegal to be openly LGBTQ. Our solidarity, our community, must be with all people across the world who remain invisibilized, oppressed, erased, demonized, criminalized, or weaponized by their governments. Pride without politics is merely a celebration of privilege. And we as a global queer community deserve so much better than that. And we are so much better than that. And when it comes to allyship, we need to remember that allyship is not an exercise of convenience, self-interest, or opportunity. It is not just the talking, it is the doing. It's about helping to lessen the burden of a marginalized group by standing with them against all systems of oppression, together. With upcoming elections on both sides of the Atlantic, it's crucial that we stay as politically involved as possible, that we demand more from our elected officials, that we uplift the most marginalized members of our community, that we work to support and fund our services and take back power from MPs who prioritize pinkwashing over real, tangible progress across all systems, from employment to housing, education, policing, and public safety. Queer people cannot and will not remain weaponized as a political pawn or neglected as an afterthought. Pride is as much about where we have been as it is about how far we have to go. And on that note, today is your final day to get registered to vote, so please do that. I've also posted a link on... I posted a link on my Instagram story. It takes 5 minutes. It's super easy, but please remember that the people in the House of Commons, they work for us. We don't work for them, and it's our country too, and it's our opportunity to take back. It's our opportunity to take back the narrative and to change the trajectory and push it into a more hopeful direction. So happy Pride, don't vote Conservative. And one last thing, free Palestine. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Don't go yet, don't go yet. We have a small gift for you, just a token of our thanks.
Thank you. Oh, it's weighty, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.